Yo, what's up, everybody? My name is Angel, and today we're going to talk about alchemy. We're going to talk about the first process in alchemy, calcination. So, what does it mean to burn away the old to uncover your true self? Well, we're going to find out today. So, welcome to the world transformation through alchemy. We're going to talk about the different types of transformation through different steps of alchemy. Right? So, the first thing we're going to talk about is the step of calcination and spiritual. We're going to talk about it in the form of astrology, numerology, and just spiritual alchemy, and how they're all intertwined and work together. How they all represent the burning of an old system of beliefs, of letting go, breaking down the ego, and bringing in and ushering in the things you want. So let's get into it. Let's get into what spiritual alchemy is, right? So when we look at calcination, what is calcination? Calcination is the process of burning away impurities. It's the process of letting go of the ego and ushering in the higher self, dissolving attachments, conditionings, and belief. It's the process of becoming your authentic self through a process that starts off with the burning. So a lot of people say burning, but the flame is always lit in you and never goes out. So what we're going to do is feed that flame oxygen, so that it can start burning away things that are no longer serving you, things that no longer align with you. And we're going to start with the base of the spine, also the root chakra. I'm going to show you, if you relate to numerology, I'm going to show you what the process in for calcination is in astrology, and also numerology, which in astrology is the Aries and numerology is the number one. But they all intertwine for the same thing. They're all intertwined to help you to start the burning away of things that are no longer serving you, letting go of beliefs, letting go of fears, and letting go of conditioning. It's basically, essentially, it's the first step in facing your shadow. It's the first step in doing shadow work to help to purify, to bring in, to usher in what you want, the manifestation, to realign your life, to bring in, to realign who you are. So when we think about the calcination and how it starts to, how the flame, what the flame does. So what the flame does is it starts to lead you on the path of uncomfortable. So you know when this is how you can identify when this step has started to happen, because in spiritual alchemy you start questioning everything. You start asking questions that you never would ask before. You may ask the question, well, if I'm supposed to go this way, then why do I feel like I'm led to go this way? But going a different path is uncomfortable. So an example I like to use is you drive to work every day. When you drive, this is something so small. You drive to work every day, and on your way to work, you take the same route and you go the same way every day. But you always put it in your GPS just to see if anything's ahead. And on your GPS is leading you a different way. You're going to get to work at the same time. But this other path may be 1 minute faster, but you're like, you know what? I always go this way, so I'm going to take the same path. Well, that ordinary path you take is going to create obstacles. You could have a tree fall. It could be a wreck. Anything could happen to slow you down, and now you're going to be late for work. You took the comfortable route. The comfortable route's still going to have the same end point. You just got a journey you got to take to get to where you're going to get to. As where if you'd have took the other route, it would have been an easier route. It'd have been quicker, and you'd still got there in the same amount of time. But you were uncomfortable taking a different route because you didn't know this route. That's how the beginning phase of calcination works in the body as far as spiritual alchemy. That's that lead. We're basically taking the ego, we're taking the conditions, we're taking the beliefs, and we're acknowledging them. We're facing them. We're beginning to put a fire to them, to burn them out of the body so the body can heal. You're essentially beginning to take that root chakra and plant it into Mother Earth. You're beginning to clean that energetic center so that the energy can start to move through your body. And this is such a creative and transformative way, because we don't get rid of ego, we balance ego, right? Ego takes over a new job as protecting us from things that are not in alignment with us. And that's the beauty of going through this, right? So one thing that I like to talk about is facing that shadow self through calcination. When we start to face that shadow work, a lot of us have done shadow journals. A lot of us have just sat down and went through it. But when we start to face that, just remember, you're getting ready to go through this part of the calcination moment in your life. You're beginning to go through this ego. So now if we look at it, that's from a spiritual aspect, right? That's just from looking at it through a purification process of how it works as far as spirituality, identifying ways, something that you can start identifying that you may know that you're not in alignment. You can feel like back pain, lower back pain. This is also another way of showing you that it's time to start this calcination process. It's start this realignment. It start to light that fire again, because sometimes we get so stagnant in our beliefs that we don't realize that there's more for us. So trust the process, trust the shadow work, And don't look at it as like a negative. If you see that shadow work as a positive, ooh, what can I learn about myself today that I did not know? Ooh, what new adventure of this, what new fear am I taking today? What is this adventure of fear I get to work through? When you start processing it in a positive way like that, then it makes this first process of calcination, of balancing the ego, releasing fears, releasing beliefs, a lot easier. So when we look at the process of calcination in astrology, right, what sign is represented by the calcination in astrology? That would be the sign of Aries. Whoa, Aries is that fire, right? Aries was represented with the Mars energy. It's your initiation point. It's the burning away of indecisiveness. That's what Aries is. Aries is the ego refinement. It's a creative transformation. That's what Aries represents. When you look at it from a Sagittarius standpoint, it's purifying outdated beliefs for higher truth. You're basically letting go of old beliefs to bring in new. And how do we do that? By fire. Fire is the starting point of burning and releasing old beliefs. Something that's really good to do when going through this process of calcination. When you figure out what those fears and beliefs are, is to write them down. Put them on a piece of paper and burn them. Take the ashes and give them to Mother Earth and ask for transmutation. That's another fantastic way to go through this calcination process of releasing and letting go and ushering in the new. Because what happens is when we're holding on to those old beliefs and old patterns, our cup is full, right? So we have to empty the cup of things that are no longer serving us so the things that are serving us are able to come in. So when we look at the calcination through astrology, and then you can also use your chart to see where Aries falls in your chart to see when you're going to be going through this. So we look at it from that point. It's the beginning. It's the first step. Mars retrograde are significant during this point for those that are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Because Mars, when it's in retrograde, it kind of forces you into this calcination process. All right, and then, ooh, my favorite. I love talking about numerology, and a lot of you know I like doing numerology readings. So let's look at calcination and numerology. It's represented by the number 1, and number 1 represents rebirth after the fire, new beginnings, and individuality. So if you're like a life path number 1 or a master number 11, you're constantly on this repath. You're constantly going through the process of calcination, of rebirth, new ideas, new things, letting go of the old, teaching new processes. Like, this is what you do, right? You're always having that fresh start. So when we think about calcination from numerology and the number 1, this is something that's going to bring forth rebirth. It's going to be people who are ushering in change. It's a way to usher in change. These people are always on new cycles, new beginnings. They'll finish something. And 9 represents completion. So they went through steps 1 through 9, and then you go back to step 1. And just know that once you start working through these and identifying these, and you're aware of when you're in this calcination phase, and then you realize that this is something that's here to help you, then these steps become so much more easier, right? The setting the fire, you don't have to sit in this egoic field. You don't have to sit with your conditionings very long. You don't have to sit with your beliefs, because you're able to be aware of it. And what this does is helps you be aware of things that are not serving you. Helps you be aware of blocks that are coming into your path a lot faster than you think. But for those of us who are just starting out, or if you're just new to spiritual journey and you're just now starting to really work through your shadow work, this is just kind of a way to show you kind of the steps you're going through and how and what you can do to help yourself get through it faster, so you understand what you're feeling. So right now, when you're getting ready to move into something that's uncomfortable, it's easy for us to move back into the comfortable, because the comfortable is where we've operated for so long. But if you stay in that uncomfortable and you allow that flame to do what it does and burn away the comfortability, then that uncomfortable becomes comfortable. Then you've completed step 1, right? And the same with astrology and Aries. When we move out of Aries and we move into Taurus, then we've moved out of that uncomfortable period and we're moving into a comfortable period, right? We can normally just breathe a little bit, like, okay, that stuff back then showed me what I didn't serve. Now I'm moving into what I do prefer. So this is how all of this works together, even in spiritual alchemy. When we start to let go of the ego and balance it, when we start to let go of conditionings and beliefs, we move into an uncomfortable state where we really just don't know. We don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what we need to be doing, what's the next step. We start going externally and seeking all these people to help us. But if we go internally, then our body, our mind will start to lead us to the next step. And through synchronicities, it will bring the people that are there to help you into you. So this is absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love this process because I love seeing what fears or conditions I haven't been able to work through it. For me, it's like a game. When I see something that's not in alignment with who I am, I'm going, how is this here to serve me? How is this here to help me? What am I supposed to learn from this? And by asking myself those questions, then that fear becomes comfortable. And then I can move on and I realize what it's there to show me and what I need to work on and how I need to get through it. So all the process of alchemy does is purify self. It purifies self in a way that we're aligned with our higher purpose. We're aligned with who we are. We are aligned with our soul. We're able to let go and live in a state of unconditional love. When we look at it through astrology, astrology is also the same way. It helps show different chart places when we're going through things, when that calcination processes are happening, when it's going to be over, and it's going to show us how we get through it. And numerology is the same way. It shows us the patterns that's happening. It shows us the time that it's happening and why it's happening and why we chose this. And if you work with all of these three things together, then essentially you know your own patterns and you can expedite the process and you can start working through those conditions and beliefs. And you start to change your chart and your patterns and all things of that nature to best align with who you are. So something that I always tell people to do is look for different ways to help work with you, to help you release these things through the calcination process. Like, what can you do? Is grounding, going outside grounding, beneficial? Is journaling beneficial for you? Meditation beneficial for you? Is knowing what's happening, looking at your astrology chart, looking at your numerology chart, reflecting on the things and patterns in your life? Is that something that's beneficial to you? These are all different things that you can use when going through the calcination process to help you understand and align with who you are and release these beliefs and fears. But you have to want to do the work. So if you were ready to do the work and if you're ready to get through the shadow work, then this is the first step to help you. This is the first step you're going to go through. That's going to be something that you're going to, that is beneficial. So remember, when you're in the uncomfortable and the chaos and the ego is fighting you, work through it, journal it down, burn it, give it back to Mother Earth, ask her to transmute it and return it with something that's beneficial to you. Take walks in nature, do a lot of journaling, do meditation, self-reflection, and ask questions. How is this here to help serve me? But I hope that helps. This is the first step in alchemy, and that's called calcination. The next step will be the dissolution, which we're going to get into when you move past the uncomfortable and you're moving in the uncomfortable. What's the next step? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe and like. Thank you for watching. Namaste.